What's going on, guys? Today we're doing the Elite that we turned on in the other video. This is the other, I don't know, it was like $7 or $8 I won it for. It was claimed to be Red Ring of Death, but in the other video we showed that it turned on. This drive seems to be a little jammed, even though it did open a couple times. But we already know the drill on what we're doing to these. Take it apart, clean it, mod it from the ground up. Now in here we can see I've got a whole bunch of extra side vents and everything, so if any of these are broken or cracked, I have some extras. And then we also have extra face plates. Got a couple white ones, another black one here for the Elite. This one has one broken door there. The one on here is actually in pretty good shape, except the USB door is broken. But like I said, we're going to be using this special all chrome faceplate, as well as another chrome piece that, well, we'll get to that. But yeah, so I plan on kind of keeping this one mostly black. I do still want to paint it, even though this one is in pretty good shape all around. It's just a little dirty. But I kind of want to do either that color shift I did on the GTA one, except everywhere it's kind of like a grip tape material, obviously skateboard, theme. So we'll either do that or some other kind of textured black paint, I guess, and it'll pretty much be chrome black and then blue accents. So since we're going to use the Talus Moon fan in this one, which has the blue LEDs, put the blue ring of light, I think that'll look really cool on the chrome. And yeah, so we'll do a quick little montage taking this apart and checking it out, cleaning it, fixing it. Okay, before we go any further, it looks like this one has been opened before. For starters, I don't know why there would be a sticker on the top of this. Seems like something Microsoft would do. It's normally on the side. Actually, there's another one on the side. That's weird. Okay. So, it's pretty dirty. It's not actually as terrible as I thought it would be. However, this one does have an aftermarket wiring harness installed here. That's probably why it was opened before, I assume. I'm willing to bet that none of this stuff has been taken out or new thermal paste is put on or anything like that. Looks like they just opened it up to put one of these in. And this is just a wiring harness that connects the fan to the DVD drive that turns it into 12 volts, which explains why this was pretty loud when I first turned it on. And you actually can still buy these. I know there was a seller on eBay that sells these wiring harnesses, but these you could get as far back as, when they made these 360s, long before the Xbox One even. So, yeah, basically, this is not the first one I've seen. I remember taking apart some Xboxes way back in the day. Sometimes they just had this in here. It's just an easy mod to do. Give or take, taking the back of the case off. That's just always a pain in the butt, getting those pins out. But, yeah, so pretty interesting. We probably won't use it, although I will use, this wiring harness instead of having to splice into my own DVD drive cable. I can just use this one. Take the sleeve off, cut these wires, boom, we got 12 volts, ready to go, ready to plug in, the LEDs I'll probably put in here and stuff like that. We also have a BenQ drive instead of a light-on, so I can technically use that clear plastic cover on it that I discovered in several, 10 videos back when I was working on DVD drives, and I tried to put it on a light-on drive, which is very similar to these. The only difference is these, the BenQ drive is that part of the circuit board is actually sandwiched in between these ends here. And so that's why these are slightly different than the light-on. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same. But, in terms of not being totally flat across the top, and the fact that the where these screws go in, these kind of protrude out the side a little bit. But yeah, so that clear thing was meant for a BenQ specifically, so if we can get that to work on there, then we will add that as well. So anyway, we'll get taking the rest of this apart and cleaning it up. Okay, so I still need to remove the screws to get the motherboard out and clean it all the way. I don't think I'm even going to bother with this heatsink with all the stickers on it. I cannot believe that they did this. That's insane to me. It even blocks some of the airflow. I'm just going to put that in my parts bin. I've already got another aluminum one here. It's already clean. Finally got had to get some new thermal paste. It's like $5, and this should be enough to do another 4 systems if I need to. And then we'll do the wiring here. I'm probably just going to use the wiring that was on this fan. So it goes to a 4-pin, and then I can use that to plug whatever else into. We'll probably do a temperature display. I should still have the blue one from when this had the copper painted front. It had the temperature display inside the faceplate. Probably use that once it's blue fans. We got blue LEDs coming for the ring of light. And yeah, let's get cleaning. Okay, once again, before we go any further, got it out of the metal frame here. You can see the pads, the thermal pads that usually go on the 4 chips that are around the actual GPU. They're just kind of randomly there. I pulled this straight out and there was just 3 of them here. There's no more on the bottom of this. You can also see that the X clamps were already removed and replaced with these screws. Used to do fixes like that. That was way back when these first started having those issues, and it's not really that necessary. We'll probably put the X clamps back on and actually put the thermal pads on properly. And then, like I said, this is incredibly dusty. Look at that. So we're just going to give it a nice good clean, see what the thermal paste looks like under these, and yeah. Okay, so clearly we got somebody who bought one of those cheap red ring fixes where it comes with these screws, some plastic washers. It's supposed to also have metal washers. Technically, you're supposed to have, I think, 16 of both. And you would put a metal one and then a plastic one, and then put it through the motherboard, and then put another plastic one, metal one, and then the heatsink. These were just screwed in and then had just the plastic one between the heat sinks and the motherboard. Not a good sign. This is also that crappy, it almost comes in like a tiny sauce packet, little thermal paste that comes in there. Just not really good stuff. This one at least does have some left on the actual chip face. This one, as you can see, look at how clean that one is. It all ran all the way off to the side, which also probably means they screw those in way too tight. That's another issue with these screws here. Obviously the system that Xbox uses, it already has bolts into the heat sinks themselves, and then they sit through and the X clamp puts an even amount of pressure on there. And then those are screwed in through these holes here. So you're kind of bypassing that, doing it this way. So again, not a good sign. We're just going to clean all that up. Like I said, I'm going to use a different aluminum heat sink that doesn't have these stickers across the top. This one's kind of banged up pretty good too. This one should clean up pretty well. It is actually really dirty. Again, I have multiple of these, so we'll probably just find the best one and clean this up, and we'll put some actual thermal paste on there. Make sure it's on there right. Get some good X clamps, make sure everything is tightened up correctly, and then just go across this with a Q-tip, some ISO, clean everything up, and then we'll put it back together. Okay guys, so at this point we got new thermal paste in, the heat sinks. I put the Talos Moon fan in. It's hooked up to 3-pin to a 4-pin, and then into the fan. But that's so that we can plug in also a temperature display. If I can still find that blue one, like I said, we'll put that in there. And then this is the glow-in-the-dark fan tunnel from the iBox build. And I do have a blue and red, there's a red power button, blue ring board for this one that hasn't shown up yet, but so we got the regular one in there for now. I'm going to clean out the DVD drive, pop that in, and I'm just going to play this for a little bit and just kind of make sure everything's good. Seemed like the motherboard was a little bit tweaked, which could be from one, overheating in the first place. Obviously it looks like somebody fixed this one. And then also from over tightening those screws. That's why the X clamp is really the way to go, so that you don't cause that issue. But now that all the screws are in, it seems okay. Seems like the USB port slightly bent, but you can still plug stuff into it. So anyway, I'm going to clean out the DVD drive, put that in, test everything out, and then we'll get on to the other mods, putting in the LEDs. I've showed many times hooking those up to the DVD power. Then we're just going to cut out a window in the side, and I'm still waiting on a few other things for this one. But we'll show some of the painting process when I get to that. Yeah. I did get a couple other packages in today, so this is just an extender piece, and again, for an example of the cost of this stuff, $8 for that, okay? Now that's going to replace these two here, just this gold rotary and this black piece here, so that it's at least just chrome and white instead of all these different colors. And that's again for the raindrop, glow-in-the-dark, yada yada Xbox there. And then another package we got, this is going to be for the PlayStation, which we'll get to. If we're still waiting on this pump top, this will be set aside for a bit longer, and we'll dive into the PS3, PSP stuff. So these are just two replacement batteries for the controllers I have. The Chrome controller with the light up sticks is just completely dead. It doesn't work at all unless it's plugged in, and even then it won't really work. So, and last thing is another controller shell. This one's completely chrome. This will be for the Tony Hawk build that we're doing now. Like I said, it'll have the chrome faceplate, so it'll all kind of match there. Okay, so everything is working. However, this drive just does not want to open even after I clean it out. It wasn't even that dirty, but it sounds like the actual motor is just very weak. But luckily we have the motherboard and DVD drive out of the Halo 3 edition, which is also a BenQ drive, and that one was working fine. So I think we'll go ahead and swap those. We'll have to do a lot of soldering to swap the motherboards over. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave this on for a little bit, see how warm it gets. Everything else on here seems to be popping up just fine. So I know the drive works in the other one, so we can just swap those. Or, you know, when I had this apart, there didn't seem to be anything wrong. I just think the motor's burnt out. So we'll swap those. And now that this thing is cleaned out, ready to go, then we'll get into the mods. Okay guys, so this is actually a light-on drive. This is one I swapped out in, I don't know, one of the other builds. So as you can see, there's a couple ribbon cables and then some other wires there that have to be desoldered from the motherboard. And then swapped over and then resoldered onto the new one. Of course, the air turns on now. So anyway, this is the other BenQ drive, or DVD drive. You can tell by the circuit board sandwiched between where the screws go in on the back. So I gotta do the same thing with these. This is the one from the Halo, so we're gonna swap that motherboard over. This one, it doesn't even look like there's any ribbon cables. There's probably one for the lens, but there's just a bunch of other wires on this one than the light on drive. So I'm going to go ahead and swap those over. I've shown that before. It's pretty boring. So I'm going to take care of that. And I'm going to finally relax a little bit, play some PlayStation. I feel kind of dumb. I just found out the Slim can actually play PS1 games. Not that I really have that many. But I'm going to try that out, play some games. And then we'll get into finishing up the Tony Hawk build. And once that's all done and I get that set up for sale and all that stuff, so I am still waiting on some parts for that as well. Once that's all done, like I said, I should get the that pump top that I need to continue on the Eyeball 360. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.